Hello and welcome to Not That This, the pop culture talk show where I interview artists and influencers to find out their fool's gold and hidden gems, those massively popular things that they hate, and those unknown or underrated masterpieces that they love. My name's Geraint Evans, and no, it's not okay if you just call me Gary. So, this is episode 7. Remember, you can help me choose the theme music for this podcast. You're hearing one of the 5 options now. I'll tell you how to vote at the end of the episode. Okay, so this is the first interview I conducted remotely, and that's because I really wanted to speak to Copstick. She's a fearsome and important comedy critic. To some, she's a cartoonish villain doling out brutal reviews, and to others, she's just a shrewd and forthright connoisseur of comedy. In my experience, she's a really nice person. We got on well. We don't agree on everything, but hey, everyone's a critic. This interview is conducted over Skype, so there are some small audio issues, but there's nothing that bars you from hearing or understanding fully what's being said. Okay, here's Copstick. Hello, Copstick.
Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for joining me over Skype.
Isn't modern technology wonderful?
It's fantastic, it's really great. So I'll say who you are. You are the most feared comedy critic in Britain.
Oh, come. Well, maybe, yes. It has been said.
Yeah. How much do you perceive of that? Because, I go up to the festival every year, and, I hang out in Brooks Bar and in the Pleasance and stuff, and I see the comedians craning their necks when you walk into a room. Like, how much are you aware of that as a...
Well, I don't think it's very healthy to be too self-aware. I just plow on and, do what I do. I suppose I'm not aware of people craning their necks. I know that sometimes if I turn up to a gig, to review, and if there's somebody like young on the door and they go, can I have your name, please? Quite often somebody a bit older will sweep in and go, that's Kate Copstick, and show me to a seat. And I sometimes comic will reference the fact that I'm in his audience, just to hint people. Not a good thing to do.
No.
Because not everybody in the audience is as fascinated by me as you are.
Yes, exactly.
So it just makes for a bit of a lull in your show. He's going, oh, Kate Copstick's in, and you're going, who? But it wouldn't be healthy or useful or anything else for me to dwell on my notoriety or whatever it is in Edinburgh. If I can use it to help somebody, then I will. If somebody says, oh, I'd really like this or that or whatever, or I'm happy to introduce people to people, because if I phone somebody up and say, look, can you spend 5 minutes in a bar with me and, I don't know, some baby comic or other, they're more likely to say yes.
Yes.
Baby comic phones them up. And I can say, oh, you really ought to go and see this show. And they're more likely to do it if, say, a PR person said it, because they know I'm not just doing it because I'm paid to say it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
as I say, if I can use my superpowers for good, then I will.
Well, that's kind of what I understand of you. Sort of newer comics tend to be terrified of you, but everyone I know who knows you just thinks you're lovely.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Oh, well, they're making a horrible mistake. I'm far from lovely. But I think I would be irritated if I thought that people thought that I wander around Edinburgh handing out terrible reviews just for the sake of it and to keep my reputation as a bitch up to scratch. I've always done the same thing. There are things up with which, as they say, I will not put. I can't stand smugness, can't stand laziness, can't stand stealing other people's material.
No.
But I'm never going to have a go at somebody for having a go. I've said many times, and it's true, I would far rather see somebody really having a go at something odd and failing miserably than see somebody just smirking their way through, some self-satisfied, snowflakey millennial shit.
That's incredible. So we talked on email a little bit before this, and one of the things I said, which I think you agree with, is the standard of comedy criticism at the moment. It's
diabolical. It's so, it's a vicious circle, because you may or may not notice that the standard of, say, theatrical criticism or the fine art criticism in the fine arts, criticism in music, is not plummeting the way it is in comedy. And the reason for that is that, generally speaking, people in the fine arts, people in music, people in theatre are not whores to a strip of 5 stars in the same way that comics are. Comics have brought this upon themselves.
Right.
They're all the way comics, and I've heard more than one comic say this. They want, where stars are concerned, they want quantity, not quality.
Yeah.
They would be quite happy to smear a gob of shit from a plastic bag on the corner of their poster, as long as that gob of shit was carrying 5 stars with it. And this is the fault of the comics and their management and their PRs, because all the terrible, and you're absolutely terrible, of a lot of comedy reviewing now could have been nipped in the bud if comics and their management and their PR weren't so fucking fast to take those stars that were given by some illiterate muppet on, I failed my GCSE English, but now I've got a website.com, and validate them by putting their stars on their posters.
Yeah.
If the comics or their management or their PR would just turn around and say, you are a twat and your opinion is of no value to me, then these people would stop doing it. I say these people, I don't really know who I'm talking about, but the plethora, the miasma of comedy websites and blogs and everything, who are now being validated and given press passes and given, press time and column inches and getting on posters. Now, when push comes to shove, criticism or reviewing is subjective.
Yeah.
And really, in the grand scheme of things, it's an opinion. It's an opinion on something given by someone else. Yeah. And that is all it is. Even the greatest critics, that is, bottom line, what it is. But a comic with literacy a critic with literacy in the field of their criticism will ideally analyse if something is good. They'll be able to specify why it's good. If something's bad, they must definitely be able to identify why it's bad. They need to be, as I say, literate in their field of criticism. So if somebody is blatantly ripping off an earlier, greater act, they will know, because they know about comedy. Yeah. If somebody is committing comedy schoolboy errors, they can point that out, but you need to be able to point it out in a way that makes everybody understand. And you need to be able to reference, ideally, a wider sphere than just your never really having liked surreal comedy. That's an opinion. Yeah. But it's not a useful opinion. Saying, I've never liked surreal comedy is not... That's fine. That's lovely. And if I was your friend, I go, oh, no, you haven't, have you? But if I'm supposed to be reading you with a view to working out what shows to go and see, well, that's just fucking pointless. So you don't like surreal comedy? I do like surreal comedy. End of. And would you please get out of my face with your pointless whinings about not liking surreal comedy? Unless you can then go on to say, And this show epitomised what I don't like. It was this. It's still not a very good or professional way of going about reviewing a show, going in with a closed mind. But then if you say, I've never read serial comedy, however, a light was shone for me on this comedy genre by this brilliant show, which, despite the fact everyone was dressed as bananas and speaking in Urdu, was hilarious. You have to bring more than just your opinion, and that takes, it takes literacy, it takes knowledge, it takes having an informed stance and a constructive stance. A critic, I don't think, is just there to go, well, that was shit.
Yeah.
Because again, even if somebody in a bar said to you, oh, bloody hell, that was shit, you're going to say, well, what do you mean shit? What didn't you like? And if you're logging on, if you're helping someone monetize their opinions, whether it's because they're getting ads on their blog or because somebody is paying them to write reviews, then you need more than mere opinion, which is only one step away from prejudice.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I can always tell what a good reviewer is, because you'll see reviews where, like, it's kind of obvious that they don't like what they're seeing, but they're still able to tell you what they're doing well, what is good about it. Yes. They're able to tell you objectively whether a show is good, regardless of whether or not they like it, because they have a depth of knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. I also think that you have to say, am I writing this for the performer? Am I writing this for their management? Am I writing this for me? Am I writing this for people like me? Am I writing this for people who might go and buy tickets? You have to work all the time in Edinburgh and beyond.
Yeah.
There are people who will say to me, they'll say, oh, that was a terrible review. They frequently say it about other reviews that their acts have received. They're like, that was a dreadful review. I couldn't pull a single quote. Well, a review is not written. It should not be written just so that you can pull marvellous quotes out of it.
Yeah. Because
if you're creative, you can pull quotes out of anything.
Absolutely.
That's what the ellipse was invented for. Just stick that in and you can make any review say anything. There are very few reviews that you can't make say something good.
Yeah.
And I realised that review sites and publications hate it when you do that. But once the review is out there, it's in the public domain. And if you've given a shit review, then somebody somewhere has to try and turn shit into gold. And that is up to them.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have any right to complain if someone takes your shit and turns it into gold.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think some comics actually really annoy me because they'll get a good review and still try and mangle a quote with an ellipse, and I just think that they got a bad review then when I see that.
Yes, that's true. As soon as you see the ellipse, you think, uh-oh, what have they done there? It's kind of... It's always a suspicious look.
Yeah.
Or when it's one word, like, hilarious, and you go, oh...
Yeah.
Okay, what was around that?
Yeah.
But the absolute miasma of websites and blogs and whatnot will continue to grow as long as comics and PRs and management use their quotes and their stars. And this is down to the comics and the management and the PR.
Yeah.
You can stop it. They can stop it just by going, sorry, you're... completetwat.com. You can't spell, you can't punctuate, you don't know anything about comedy. I am not prepared to put your stars on my poster. Or I am not prepared to give you a press pass. Or,
Yeah.
some venues, like I was talking to a couple of people who run venues, and they're also thinking about perhaps trying to have some kind of weeding out process so that, you know, Egypt.co.uk just doesn't meet the required standard to get a press past their venue.
I mean, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, it's very difficult working out what the parameters of that are. But, you know, I was talking to the chap who run the British Comedy Guide. Now, normally what they do is they scoop up every single review. And they're like an archive of all the reviews. Now, he was saying that he is thinking this year of saying, look, these are our guidelines. You don't meet this standard, you don't get a place in the British Comedy Guide. And as I say, it's about working out what the standards are and how you can say, sorry, you didn't meet them.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things that makes it easier for, you know, the Muppets to... Actually, I don't know why I'm calling them Muppets. The Muppets are hilarious. Brilliant. For the Egypts to write is that on websites and on blogs, you know, there's absolutely no word count.
No.
So if you feel the need, which alarming numbers of them do, to spend the first 100 words detailing what the comic was wearing, how they felt, what they'd done before getting to the gig, the fact that they had slight indigestion because their chicken pakora was, you know, weighing heavily on their stomach, and the man next to them was wearing bad cologne. They can do that, you know, because they don't have a word count. If you're writing for a publication that says, right, it's 250 words,
yeah,
then the comedian's shirt and how it fitted him, or whether you could see his hairy chest, you know, under the top button or not, is quite far down your list of priorities to go into the review. However, as I say, if you can write 1,000 words, then, you know, the fact that his chest hair was going slightly grey, which you could see because he'd undone the two top buttons of his floral shirt, might seem quite important.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another telling thing from bad reviewers is they go on a bit. Or they last like 6 words. Either way.
I mean, it's what I call a... You know, when I was at school, you used to get what I did in my summer holidays. And you wrote an essay on it. And it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to see Simon Evans, I found it difficult to settle in to watch the show because I was damp. It was absolutely pouring outside. But of course, that's the kind of thing you've got to expect at the Edinburgh Festival. Unfortunately, the venue, being as it was in an Edinburgh University lecture hall with the kind of hard seats, didn't give you a chance to let your raincoat drip and blah, 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 blah. And you just you lose the will to live before you get anywhere near the show or the comic.
Absolutely. But you're trying to fix this at the moment, aren't you?
Well, I'd been talking to somebody about the awfulness of the reviews, and I thought, now this might be a hideous exercise of my untrammeled ego, but I thought, you know, I could do a course. There's courses on everything now, you know.
Oh yeah.
There's courses on millions of stand-up courses, MCing courses, improv courses, and I thought I could do a course on reviewing because I do know about it, and I'm quite a good teacher. You know, a lot of I work in Kenya. I am a small charity, and a lot of what I do in Kenya is, or some of it is kind of training and teaching people, and I'm now doing quite a lot of, teaching people about their human rights and about their legal rights and all that. So I'm quite a good teacher, and it is basically simple, and I think I could do a good, like a 1-day course. Just what you want to do is make people think. All you've got to do is just open that chink in the mind, and so people go, oh, I never thought of that. I won't do that again. Or, oh, God, yeah, of course, I will do that. I mean, the good ones. You know, some of them are just going to go, bollocks, what does she know? She's an ancient, raddled old hag. You know, I'm quite sure her first reviews were inscribed on tablets of stone, as indeed they were. But what I'm hoping is that if I offer this, you know, like 1-day course, and go through absolutely right from the very beginning, the starting point, which is, I think, why do you want to review?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that. Why do you want to review? Through to the technical aspects, like writing to a word count and the god-awful star system and how you apply it. And going through things that... And so I put that on Facebook and said... And I just got the most fantastic response. And since when, I've just been bombarded with people saying, yes, when you're starting, and people saying, will you be including this? Things like... the other day I was talking to somebody who said, oh, you've got to tell the millennials you don't go into a comedy show and write your review on your mobile phone, thereby casting an eerie glow on your face as you write. Now, it would never occur to me to write a review on my mobile phone because, of course, there's going to be a light there, which is very distracting for everybody. Comic, you know... but apparently this happens a lot. So, yes, that is now going into the review course. I mean, I'm going to start them as soon as I possibly can. At the end of the week, I'm talking to Barry Ferns of the Bill Murray, and we're going to kick off with a couple of days at the Bill Murray and see how it goes. If there's take-up from around the country, I'm more than happy to do a couple up in Edinburgh or Glasgow, do a couple, you know, wherever there's interest. I'm not expecting everybody to come to London because I find that London-centric attitude extremely annoying.
Yeah.
But, so... And it's not, absolutely not, that you go, I want everyone to write like me. That'd be ghastly. And also, I'd be doing myself out of a job. But the enormity of the universe of things that a lot of these sort of baby reviewers don't seem to have thought about. Some of them, I think, could be good. And it's downgrading the whole craft of reviewing. As I say, the comics themselves, their PRs and their management need to fucking stand up and be counted and understand that they are feeding the monster. Yeah. Because none of these, a lot of the reviewers and the websites and the blogs, they're doing it because you're giving them the space. You're giving them the oxygen of the publicity of having their stars on your poster. So, you know, you can't whine about how crap they are and put them on your poster or put them in your press release. If they're that crap, you know, that's the thing. You know, somebody goes, oh, they're absolutely rubbish, but they gave me 5 stars. You know, you have to go, but these 5 stars are worthless. This person is an absolute twat. So, you know, so the comics and the PRs and whatnot need to help with this. But I'm hoping, I'm really looking forward to, you know, spreading the gospel of good reviewing, quality reviewing, because it's also much more fun. To do quality reviews, to sit there and not just giggle into your, you know, cappuccino, but work out in your head while things are happening, or sit there and laugh and then come out afterwards and go, oh, you know, the kind of cliche, I see what he did there, and write something that's interesting and good writing. You know, rather than just because, you know, I know there's a million reasons to want to be a reviewer. You know, shagging comics, you know, at the most basic level, and there's, comics are easy. Okay, now they'll shag anybody push comes to shove. Get them drunk enough and hint heavily that you know somebody at the BBC and they're yours. You don't need to go to the bother of watching their terrible shows and writing a review on it. But all of these handy hints and more will be vouchsafed to you at Copstick's comedy criticism workshop.
Well, I hope you smash that, because I for one would enjoy reading some good reviews.
Yes.
But given that you're a critic, let's move on.
Yes.
To our Fool's Gold section. So, what is it that's really popular that you don't like?
Well, football.
Okay.
I have no idea how it got to be so big. I can understand that if you're running around kicking a ball, that can be fun. It just seems to be all manner of running around kicking things or hitting things or whatever are fun. But how did it get to the working class people and whatever it is, hundreds and hundreds of pounds for a season ticket?
Oh yeah.
And a fortune to get in on the day. And this is it. It's always been thought of, although it's probably been usurped by the dual classes. But it's kind of a working class game. And how can somebody watch these stupid, big, over-groomed divas with cocks? Be paid that for, because my sport, or my obsession sport-wise, is Moto GP, superbike racing.
Okay, all right.
Now, if ever something comes up on the news or whatever, it's some big girl's blouse with more hair product than, an entire whorehouse, falling down, rolling around, shrieking, being stretchered off. And then there's, medical bulletins going, he's twisted a metacarpal or something. And he's off for 6 months in the Bahamas. Now, 9 times world champion, Valentino Rossi.
Yeah.
Who is a legend. 9 times world champion. The man is 39 years old.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Ancient for a superbike racer.
Yeah.
He fractured both his tibia and fibula.
Wow.
Right? 6 weeks ago. No, is it 6 weeks ago? Something like between 4 and 6 weeks ago.
Right, okay.
So, operation, bones plated, everything, like a big, long operation. He is back on a motorbike. Testing. And there is a very good chance that he will be riding at the Aragon Moto GP this weekend.
Wow.
I will say again, smashed fibula and tibia. The bones that hold you up when you walk. The bones that hold your weight. Broken. Both of them. Big operation. 3 weeks back on a bike.
Yeah.
How... there are guys riding... There was a Leon Haslam, who is now leading the British Superbike Championship. He has a broken elbow. His elbow bone is cracked from one end to the other. He rode with that cracked that broken elbow, and won one race, came in the next, in the rain, at Oulton Park, just last Saturday.
Wow.
These guys, and this is nowhere on the news, but somebody stubs the toe at, Wembley or whatever. It's massive, and they've got, international toe surgeons flying in. And the guys in British Superbikes, half of them are holding down normal jobs.
Yeah.
Because the man isn't there. So the whole football thing, and it's like, there's a great little, little clip floating around on Facebook, and it's like, yeah, so that guy's kicked it to that guy. And now that guy's kicked it to another guy. Oh, and now that guy's kicked it back to the guy that kicked it to him. And they're run. And I don't understand what is so. I want a sport where I can see the skill. You go, oh my God, that's I'm sure there's probably skill in like Premier League football, but they're all just running around having a rally as far as I can see and being paid more than God.
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't get it. As soon as I assume complete control of the planet, there'll be none of this six-figure salaries, there'll be none of these stupid, whatever they call transfer fees. There'll be none of this. Sometimes all you can see is football. Well, we have the choice on TV of football or football or football or football. No more. We one channel, all the football. They can run around to their heart's content, and it's not going to bother the rest of us who want something with a bit more, a bit more anything, really. I just don't get it. I don't get any of the footballers. I don't get the game. I certainly don't get all the craziness. And as far as I can see, it's the most overrated since, I don't know, The Office.
Yeah, I mean, I think... Right,
like
so
that either.
I'm going to offer you a defence of football, though, because I love football, right?
Really?
I don't enjoy the elements which you just mentioned. I think they're killing a sport that I love. But what I will say that I think people don't necessarily understand about football is that, and I actually include most football fans in this. It's a nerdy thing. It's geeky. It's hero worship. It's like watching Star Trek and loving and knowing everything about it. That's what football fans are. They know all the stats. They know all the players from all the teams. Like, that's what it is. You're into something like that.
But that's the same with any sport.
Yeah, this is true.
Senseless. I could bore you senseless on any given race day with tyre compounds, tyre choice, fuel mix, all of it. Now the nerdiness of it, I suppose I could quite get into.
Yeah.
And that was when he played for so and so, and then he was transferred to this. But surely you can go and be nerdy at a nice local team who don't have the GNP of a sub-Saharan African country on the pitch at any given time.
Yeah, I think that's true. So the other thing, right, and which is why I think big teams become a thing, or teams get bigger and like supporter bases get bigger and bigger, is within football there is. It's a very working class sport generally. Like it. Maybe now not so much in going to the games, but certainly in the areas where the teams exist. Like, I'm from Swansea, everybody is Swansea in Swansea. Yeah. And there's a community now, which I think, because of the sort of corporatist culture that we live in, even though the clubs themselves are very corporate, the community of going to the game or going to the pub for the game day, like, you don't really get that anywhere else anymore, is what I feel.
No, I mean, I tell you, I have a group of my fellow Moto GP aficionados who searched London for a pub where we could go and all watch Moto GP when they're at. And do you know why we can't do that? Because they're all showing fucking football. Like for the first time in history, a female won a world championship race.
Wow.
Ana Carrasco. She's the most amazing young woman. First time ever. Is it anywhere? No, because we're too busy talking about football. I mean, I know this is not necessarily the fault of the sport, but it seems to create so much aggro and violence.
Oh yeah, I mean
I grew up fearing the days when Celtic played Rangers.
Right. Yeah.
And I understand that the teams, the clubs are not necessarily to blame for that. But again, like the terrible critic websites and the comics, if the clubs weren't so dead to get feet in their grandstands or bums on their seats or whatever, they would just say, right, nobody's coming. We'll play the games in private, and we'll let you know what happened afterwards. Or we'll say, there has to be a way of stopping the bad guys getting in.
Yeah, I mean, and they're trying, and it's a lot better than it used to be. But I remember just a few years ago, Cardiff lost in Swansea, and a bunch of storefronts got smashed up. It's so hard to
I mean, I
police
know
it.
that is not the fault of the game and all that, but I think it's got so big, it's got so rich, it's become obscene.
Yeah, but I kind of think that's why there's gonna be a bust, because I mean it's like the Roman Empire, right? It gets too big and then it crumbles, and I think that happens to everything eventually.
And when that happens, Moto GP is standing ready to become the new must-see sport.
So is Moto GP your hidden gem then, or have you got?
Well, I was just thinking, because I wanted to tell somebody about this, and I thought I'll tell you.
Okay.
I have, when people say, "Oh, I laughed so much, a little bit of pee came out." I can't really remember the last time that happened to me. Maybe just because I have incredible pelvic floor muscles. But generally speaking, it takes a lot. You have to be laughing uncontrollably and viscerally.
Yeah.
And then about a week ago, it happened. And it's I listen to Radio 4 Extra, the comedy club on Radio 4 Extra, a lot at night. Shows you what kind of social life I have. But there's the most just glorious stuff to be found there, because they have stuff from they have current stuff, but they also have old gems. Right. And I was listening to what I think is one of the greatest and funniest radio programs ever, created and produced, unsurprisingly, by Bill Dare, who is just brilliant. And it's called Secret Lives.
Okay.
And it was kind of a precursor, or it came out in the same stable as Dead Ringers.
Right.
But it's just I think it's much cleverer than Dead Ringers, because it kind of imagines secret lives of incredibly famous people. And so they're doing the most, the things you would never, ever imagine them doing. And the impressions are brilliant. Yeah. The scripts are just, pitch perfect. And my wee came out during, possibly too much information, but never mind, you can edit it out. My wee came out during, it was a running gag. That was the thing. So there was more than one wee. Right. There was 3 wees. Because it kept coming back. And this sketch where it was Ray Winston, Bob Hoskins, and then the third one who joined in was Ross Kemp.
Okay, yeah.
And it started off with Ray Winston was wrapped in a duvet cover. He was changing his duvet cover in his bedroom, and he got stuck inside the duvet cover. And so he called Bob Hoskins for help. Bob, trapped, stuck in the duvet cover. And it was just so funny. Going, can you see daylight? No, can I only see the duvet? All right, I'm coming over. So Bob Hoskins went over. He got trapped in the duvet cover along with Ray Winston. And it was these two, archetypal, ridiculously tough guys who just shoot their way out of anything, trapped in just this ridiculous laundry-based catastrophe. And then Ross Kemp, they called Ross, I'm going to call, what? No. So they called Kemp. And it was just the silliest, cleverest, funniest, most brilliant little gem of comedy. You just think that it's perfect. It's perfect in every way. It's a perfectly, ridiculously funny idea with a perfectly written script and perfect performances. Yeah. Just perfectly timed. And the fact that it came back 3 times, it was just brilliant. And I say that Secret Lives is the show. And I think it's done 4 or 5 series. And then I think they box and cox it with Dead Ringers. But it's genius. It's comedy genius. And, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Wow. I mean, I don't think I can add anything to that. That just sounds great.
Oh, it's beyond great.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll end with some quick fire questions, if that's all right with you.
Bloody hell! Okay.
Okay. I mean,
is this general knowledge or what?
it's just going to be sort of your favourite and your least favourite different mediums.
Ah, okay.
Very
Okay.
easy. Not everyone has been quick fire, so don't feel too much pressure.
Okay.
Okay, so what is your favourite TV show?
Ooh, favorite TV show? Oh God, I watch a lot of. Well, I was addicted. Well, Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Addicted to Game of Thrones, and addicted to almost anything that involves dead bodies and a witty coroner, so a little witty pathologist. So I watched, and this is going to do my street cred no good, but I love CSI. Apart from CSI Miami, because it's got David Caruso in it, and he just needs to fuck off out of anything ever where anybody might ever see him again. I have no idea who he's shagging, but it must be somebody in charge of a network, because he is devoid of anything that might in any form remotely resemble talent, and yet he's bloody everywhere. Anyway, but all the other CSIs are brilliant. Bones, I loved Bones. So anything where they find a hideous dead body and then gradually, over the course of 50 minutes, work out who done it.
Brilliant.
And also Game of Thrones.
Okay. Your least favourite TV show?
I can't stand, I just don't get most of the soaps, Corrie, anything. I really don't. And of course, anything involving football, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, it's like half of TV now, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so your favourite movie?
Ooh, well, there's a Coppola movie called One from the Heart.
Okay.
Which is just stunningly beautiful. But there's a truly kind of really schlocky old movie. It's from like the 50s or something. No, the 60s actually. And it's a wildly homoerotic Dirk Bogarde falling in love with John Mills before he was Sir John. And it's called The Singer, Not the Song. If you can imagine a young, beautiful Dirk Bogarde.
Yeah.
Black leather trousers, black leather hat, black leather jacket, on a horse. I'm leaving you with that.
Okay. What's your least favourite movie?
Oh, well, I fell asleep during 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Wow.
I've never made it through. I didn't make it through Star Wars. I have no interest in seeing. I've tried a lot of these Alien and all of that, and I can't. I don't get it. I don't get it. All the massive effects and everything, and it's all going to end horribly. And I again, why is the point of splurging all that money on that? Just can't be doing with any of those big, Marcus Brigstock, brilliant comic, does a cool show called I've Never Seen Star Wars, and I've never seen Star Wars.
Okay.
And I have no interest.
Fair. Well, what do I usually ask next? I can't remember. What's your favourite book? This is always a hard one for people.
My favourite book. Again, there's an Irish writer called Walter Mackin who wrote a series of books on the Troubles, the Irish Troubles. And again, they're mildly schlocky, but I find them very emotional. I love anything by Gore Vidal. When I discovered Gore Vidal, I read everything he wrote. And some of it is deadly dull. All his massive political novels I found deadly dull, but I just love the way he writes, the style. The way that he writes. And there's a book called Luke Homeward Angel, which is very, very good American novel. Old. I don't mean like historically old, but old, and it's very beautiful. I tend to read for two different kinds of things. I read, generally speaking, for the writing. So again, there's some of A.A. Gill, stuff like there's a book called A. Gill is Away, and it's some of his travel writing, and it's beautiful. Okay. When A.A. Gill writes about something he's passionate about, he was a stunning writer. He's written some trash, and his restaurant reviews got a bit irritating towards the end. But and then I'm quite a fan of an old detective novel. There's an Italian writer called Donna Leon who writes detective novels set in Venice, and I love Venice. And as I say, it's back to the old whodunit thing. And finally, I love. I'm a fan of P.G. Wodehouse. Okay. And I'm a big fan of Dorothy L. Sayers, who wrote the Lord Peter Wimsey detective novels.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot for people to get through.
Sorry about that.
What's your least favourite book, then? Probably one you haven't even got through.
What's my least favourite book? Probably any of those irritating, girly... I can't stand chick lit.
Right, okay.
Oh, well, I did utterly and absolutely loathe 50 Shades of Grey.
And you were right to do so.
So far beyond bad, it could have got to bad with, a free Virgin Rail ticket and a roadmap. It just... terrible.
Wow. Okay. And so, just because it's you, feel free to decline to answer. Your favourite stand-up comedian?
Oh, favourite stand-up comedian. I'm a big fan of Michael McIntyre. I think he's like almost like the perfect stand-up.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a huge fan of Frankie Boyle. Big fan of Mark Watson, Robin Ince, tremendous stand-up, and Rob Newman, huge fan of Rob Newman.
Yeah, I saw him a couple of years ago. He's amazing.
Incredible. And I saw this year. I saw Simon Evans.
Okay.
And it was extraordinarily brilliant. But then, there are comics. I think there's a guy called Jimmy McGee.
Okay,
who, I think he had quite a lot of success, cocked it up, and now is kind of regrouping. I think he's a very, very good comic. I quite like, if it's done well, the storytellers. There's a woman called Martha McBriar, who I just think you can't not love what she does. It's a glorious thing watching. She's kind of, if I believed in God, I'd say that she had a God-given gift, but I don't. So I don't know where her gift came from. Genes. I think that we're in, quite a good place. But there's a lot of trash around. That's just because we've got so much comedy, and people are seeing you see an awful lot of terrible comics. But that's just because we're up to our nipples in comics.
There's so many these days.
And you just have to wade through. But also, watch what you're wading through. I'm a great believer in, watching the newbies. And you can see people with a spark. And I love, Twonky. I could watch Twonky forever, but you have to kind of take your brain out. Yeah. And go with the crazy. The same with, Michael Brunstrom, Candy Gigi, all these people. There's a Scottish guy called Richard Brown. He makes Frankie Boyle look like Michael McIntyre. I mean, no, he makes Frankie Boyle look like Josie Long. That's how depressed and dark he is. But I think he's utterly brilliant, and I don't know why. Possibly he's a monster, but he doesn't seem to be a monster. He seems to be a very, very decent and nice guy. But I've seen him for 3 or 4 years on Peter Buckley Hill's Free Fringe. I think he's wonderful. it's just and I've given him 4 stars, 5 stars. It's with people like that, I don't know how he'd react to fame and fortune.
Right, yeah.
And whatnot. But I think, there are people around like Kerry Marks, who's you just go into one of his shows and it's proper live stand-up. I think the danger is, nowadays, is that everybody thinks TV is the be-all and end-all. TV is not the be-all, and TV will go away. And TV will, it's going to not be the must-do thing for comics. It will stop being that, because people will realise that your bread and butter and whatnot come from live comedy. And stand-up is a live genre. It is an intimate live genre. And go and see people like Kerry Marks, whose show this year, he's never been. I've only ever seen Kerry be terrible once, and that was a long, long time ago. He's a tremendous live stand-up. And I think people need to... I don't know if you're going to find your favourite comic on a screen, because stand-up is quite a visceral thing.
Yeah.
You need to feel in your gut your favourite comic. When you find the person that presses your buttons. And for that, you need to go and see them live.
Absolutely.
And it's a wonderful... If you find somebody who's not well known and they become your favourite comic, it's bloody awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I so agree.
Because you've discovered them. They're like your guy. It's a great thing, and you follow them. And you get stuff from Comedy Live that you're never going to get through a screen. And certainly not at a screen where they're performing live at the Apollo or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just... And anyone with half a brain knows, they've cut out all the shit stuff and pasted somebody else's applause breaks, But go and see it live. Yeah. And as I say, there's look at all the guys not seen on the telly, like, the Kerry Markses, or even, Phil Nicol, whatnot. Brilliant comics. And you need to... I was going to say you need to smell them. But, you need to get that visceral... And, even people that you do see on this night, go and see them live. Go and see them in a local club. Don't go and see them at Wembley. Go and see them when they're trying out. Go and see them in small club.
Yeah.
That's where comedy lives. It's like, I suppose, in a way, you're going to get an emotional kick from watching your home team play at their own, ground, that you don't get watching, a team of complete foreigners playing for Chelsea at Wembley.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so, again, feel free to decline this. I just can't not ask you. Who's your least favourite comic? Least favourite comic?
I have a problem with a lot of the kind of identity kit young toothy ones, the Rob Beckett's and the...
Okay.
And I find them anodyne. All those, young blonde toothy ones. The kind of pseudo-observational. I definitely have a problem with them. And I do have a problem with the feminazis.
Okay.
And especially... the female comics banging on about something political and, sexual politics, who are all content and no style. Much as I utterly and absolutely disagree with practically everything Bridget Christie says or thinks or will ever think, I think she's a terrific comic. She is so bright. She's a great comic. So... Although I just sit there shaking my head, going, for fuck's sake. She's a great comic. And as I say, she's a good writer. She is smarter than a smart thing that's smart. And she's a lovely, engaging performer. I just happen to think that she talks shit.
Okay.
But a lot lesser talented women who have come in her wake.
Right.
Banging on about, somebody looked at my breasts, it's an outrage. That because that they're jumping on a bandwagon. So what I hate in comedy, I hate smug, I hate dishonest, and I hate parroting a party line.
Okay.
Because they know they've got an audience of the Seraph-faced Sisterhood.
Fair enough. Okay, so I've got one last. I mean, we're coming to the end now. We really can't get into this, but I've got one last question for you.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, if someone was gonna make the story of your life, what medium would you choose it to be in, and what would you call it?
Wow, I probably need a movie.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind a stage show. It's just that it would be very exhausting.
Yeah.
So let me see. Well, if I possibly, I don't know. I did a radio show for a while on Freedom, which was I don't know, called The Bitches Back. I wouldn't mind it being called The Bitches Back.
Okay.
That'd be quite good. If Tina Turner was okay with that.
Right, yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me, Copstick.
No worries. Thank you.
I hope I'll see you in Edinburgh at some point.
Absolutely, if not before.
Fantastic. Wow. Okay. So I have actually really struggled with my sense of responsibility on this episode. Occasionally in the quickfire section I ask people questions relative to their medium, and I don't think I really thought about the implications of that when talking to a critic, especially one like Copstick, who very proudly takes no prisoners. I'm sure you heard my awkward pause after she talked about feminazi comics. I really bristle at that term, I don't like it, and honestly I thought about editing that out, but I've asked someone on this show and then I have asked them a question and they have answered it, and I don't think I have the right to censor someone in those circumstances. Outside of that, we got on really well. Next time I see Copstick, I'm definitely going to buy her a drink to thank her for being on here. She's an incredibly intelligent person that I'm glad I got to spend some time with. I'm going to include a link to her charity in the show description, and if you're interested in her reviewing courses, look out for them on angelcomedy.co.uk/The Bill Murray. I don't believe in advertising for this show, so if you want to support Not That This, help it grow and get even more brilliant guests, you can do that at thatthispod.com. Now, if you want to help me choose the theme song for Not That This, you can do that in one of three ways: leaving a comment on a donation, reviewing the show on iTunes, or sharing it on social media, tagging me in at thatthispod. There are 5 songs to choose from. They were played in episodes 1 to 5 and will now be repeated throughout episodes 6 to 10. All you have to do is include one of these 5 words in your comment, review, or share, and I'll know which song you want. Ocelot for the music in episodes 1 and 6, Tiger for the music in episodes 2 and 7, Thrush for episodes 3 and 8, Fox 4 and 9, and Falcon for episodes 5 and 10. The more creative you can be with those terms, the better. You can also email me at geraint@thatthispod.com. That address is also on the website, thatthispod.com. There are 2 more episodes next week with a couple of queue jumpers, people I recorded with more recently. I try to represent artists from all different mediums, so especially at the start, some people are going to jump in early. The first of those episodes is with actor Becky Brunning, who you'll most likely know from her performance as Lindsay Lucas in the BBC's award-winning drama Broadchurch. The second episode next week is also incredibly exciting. I speak to Jeffrey Craner, who is one of the creators and writers of the podcast phenomenon Welcome to Night Vale and the absolutely brilliant Within the Wires. Until then, I'll catch you soon.